Looks like early retirement is off the table, folks. I'm here with Tom Hartman, web programmer and a marketer extraordinaire, and me. I am your wonderful something or other. I never really have anything to say because we talk about crypto mostly, and Tom's the one who talks about this the most. So I don't even feel the need to introduce myself. I'm just here to keep the conversation going, folks. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, the Armageddon of it all. And is this the end for Bitcoin? We'll also be touching base on risk management and helping you to figure out what decisions you can make, because we can talk about Bitcoin all day long, but we're going to have to figure out what the risks are and how to manage that. Just letting you folks know that we are taking questions from people in our Telegram group. So if you haven't already, become a patron of Jumpstart. You know, go over to patreon.com/happy for a change. Become a patron for as little as $5 a month. You get direct access to, I was going to say us too, but really it's for you, Tom. That's what everybody wants. You get direct access, Tom. You'll get answers to your questions, all that good stuff. So you don't have to wait till we go live in order to find out what's going on. Right? You can message at midnight, and Tom will probably be up, and maybe he'll be able to respond to you, or first thing in the morning. Tom,
Peter,
all the king's horses and all the king's men, are they going to be able to deal with this? What's going on?
All right, so look. I'm going to give the Federal Reserve Chairman type answer, which was, there are nuances to this. We're in a gray area, right? What I always tell people when it comes to a stock or anything that they're invested in, they go, what can happen? What's going to happen from here? I go, well, it'll either go up, go down, or go sideways. So I find that's very helpful to me to be like, well, there's not an infinite number of choices here, okay? It's going to be one of these three. So let's start knocking them down, right? Now, no one cares if it goes sideways from here, right? The price of it stays sideways from here for the next 6 months to a year, it's like owning gold. Okay, it's what you have. The real problem is the people who want to see Bitcoin double constantly. They're used to seeing Bitcoin double, and they go, wait a second. I'm used to 200% returns per year and a drop by 50%. Or the people, unfortunately, it's going to be, the second group of people who bought it in the hype phase, right? Who bought it when everybody and their grandmother was buying it. They have to suffer this drawdown, and they don't know what to do, right? So those are usually the people that are panicking. Is the people who have been, first of all, if you've owned Bitcoin or any type of cryptocurrencies for years, you probably barely noticed what's going on, right? You're up 6 times your money, and you're up 6 times your money, and now you're up three times your money, and you're like, okay, fine, I'm up 3 times the money. You're not really panicking. But if you bought it at, you bought Bitcoin at 50,000, you watch it go up to 60,000, you're very happy, and now it's down half that. Well, I can understand your pain. So the first question I'm just going to parse all my answers here today, Peter, into Group A, which are the ants, and Group B, who are the grasshoppers, right? So
okay, wait, but hang on. Speaking, yeah. Okay, before you do that, I just want to contextualize this experience right now. I've been asked to have you explain what's about to happen, at least preliminarily. Tell it to me like I'm 5, right? Explain it so that the average Joe Schmo can understand what's going on, and then dive into some details. So deal with the ants and grasshoppers. Wait, the ants and the grasshoppers, what is that? The one who saved and worked, and the one who didn't? What's that?
Exactly. The ant saved, and the grasshopper didn't.
Gotcha.
Didn't prepare for winter.
Yeah, I think it's squirrels. It's a squirrel, and
it's not a squirrel.
It's a beaver and an orangutan.
It's a tortoise and a hare. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's 2 animals.
All right,
2 animals.
Tell it to me. Give it to me. Tell it to me. Explain like I'm 5.
Okay, well, let's just get to what's going on right now, right? So the question is, why is it dropping, right? So the short answer to why it's dropping, and the answer that no one likes to hear, but it's the truth, is that there are more sellers than buyers. That's why.
That's what you tell me when I call you. I go, tell me what's happening. You're like, oh, there's more people who are selling than people who are buying.
Well, because people like to try to fixate on a reason, as if they go, if these reasons, if I put them together, I know for sure this is what's happening, and then I could watch those reasons evaporate and the price go up. Well, you don't have infinite knowledge, and the best you can do is go, this seems to be what's right. But if anyone knew for sure it was a fact, this is what is causing the price to go down or go up, then there wouldn't be any uncertainty in the price. The price would go directly to where it needs to be, wouldn't bounce around, and that's where the price would stay. So the reason I'm saying that is that nobody knows for sure why Bitcoin is dropping, other like the reasons underlying the buying and selling. Now, there's all kinds of bad news that's been happening lately. One of the big ones for me is China. China decide they have their own digital currency that they're trying to push, and so they decided they're basically going to ban Bitcoin from the populace. The thing is, China had the largest repository of Bitcoin miners. The people who are actually creating the Bitcoin, mining the Bitcoin, a lot of them are in China. So now they're sort of like scrambling. They have to figure out somewhere new to go, or if they're even going to do that. So that causes a huge dip inside of the crypto space. This is uncertainty. Well, if China is going to ban it and someone else is going to ban it, like maybe the United States does it, maybe Canada does it, maybe the UK, what happens then to the price? So as soon as you have any sort of uncertainty, well, that widens the possible prices. Like that could just as easily have been a bullish thing for a good thing for Bitcoin, right? If you have less supply of Bitcoins coming onto the market and the same amount of demand, it might have made the price skyrocket, and then we would be talking about how Bitcoin reached to $80,000 per Bitcoin because China banned it. Like, you don't know for sure. Other stuff like this underlying liquidity issue. So just a general thing, when it comes to markets, you have everyone knows the stock market, right? And then there's the bond market, and then underneath that is the money markets. Now, we're not going to go through all the details of it, but just to think of it as assets are layered in this sort of like pyramid structure, where underlying things can affect higher things, and higher things can bleed down to underlying things. And aside from the crypto market, there's been all kinds of weird liquidity or access to money issues that's been going around ever since the global financial crisis, but triggered with the pandemic that we've been in. So basically, that means imagine there's pools of money. Let's say there are pools of money that wanted to come into Bitcoin and buy some Bitcoin, but they can't because the money's locked up. They're not liquid. Checks in the mail. I got to sell a few things. I got to move some numbers around. There's a large amount of that happening underneath. In fact, there's way more people who know about what's going on in China and Bitcoin than understand what's going on in the reverse repo market between money markets, primary dealers, and the Federal Reserve. That probably sounds like gobbledygook to you, but that stuff is far more important. Now, what are and there's a number of things like when I saw the Bitcoin conference happen, right, in Miami, I go, and how they were just selling $500,000 watches, and people are trying to get their Bugattis tailored, and what's his name, Max Kaiser's on stage with a white suit saying
Elon.
Another, I go, oh my god, this is classic sign of like .com bubble, housing bubble. It's gone too far. So there's all kinds of different reasons of why there might not be enough buyers for the sellers that are out there. But the real question is here: what did you buy, right? What I've been saying for months now is that if you get into the crypto space, you're not buying for sure that it's going to go up. You're buying something that has a potential of going up dramatically. And I kept saying, you don't have another option like that you can buy that has that type of volatility, that type of potential price movement that could make someone from a well-off to middle class in a year. You don't have another trade like that. And I said, take the money that you can lose and take the bet. But you can't get the upside volatility. You can't get a potential of getting double your money without the potential of it going to zero, right?
Well, you explained this just the other day in the Telegram group. If you haven't joined, you definitely want to join the Telegram audio group where we have voice chats. But you explained that uncertainty is a feature of this bet that you're doing, and it's the thing itself that causes the price to be able to go up higher. Right? It's the fact that there is uncertainty and volatility that makes this the great potential that it is, that you can't have one without the other. That uncertainty, if there was certainty, then we know the exact price and it wouldn't move and it would just stay there. But if, like gold, for example, but because there's uncertainty, because there's volatility, that's why the price can fluctuate, can go up and down. So that's where knowing what you're buying is important, because if you buy a dog, you can have an expectation of one set of experience. If you buy a tiger for a pet, well, then you're going to expect a different type of unpredictability when it comes to
That's
the tiger.
exactly right. Exactly right. So volatility, which is to say the potential range and price movement of an asset, is one of the features of Bitcoin. And so it can't go up 200% in a year and then go down 50% and then you're complaining because that's what you bought. You bought this volatility. So
I find it fascinating, just so you know, that we're actually, I mean, not stable, but that 30,000 is where we're at because, you expect something that isn't good to collapse, like to keep going down. It's like staying here. So all the people who were like looking for the get rich quick, they're no longer motivated by it. But anybody who understands what Bitcoin is and the value that it provides, you're like, look, 30,000, that's really high compared to 2,000.
well, look, we're basically exactly back to January 1st price levels, right?
Yeah.
That means that there's a bunch of people who didn't buy it at 10,000, 12,000 back in September. They December comes, January comes, they're like, oh my god, it doubled since then, let me get in. It ramps up from 30,000 to 60,000, doubles for them, and now came back down and basically took out the hype cycle. Now, I'm not saying that there's not more downside to come, right? Often when you have something that drops dramatically, it continues dropping. And it's sort of like a cork underwater. It could take a while before it finds its level. And I'm not even saying that it can't drop to zero. I'm not trying to say that at all. I'm just trying to say that
I'm saying
at
that.
this
I'm saying
well,
that.
at the point that you're at right now, the price is it just took out the year's gain. So, and the potential for it to continue to go up after that has not disappeared. The volatility shows you that that's still possible.
You said something here, and I want to touch on because I think that people don't understand this. It took out the hype cycle.
So we've talked about in several videos ago, several streams ago, this idea that you have price is supposed to be reflective. Ideally, in an ideal world, the price is reflective of exactly the supply and demand. The supply and demand exists where those points meets. You have the price that's decided, and everyone decides, okay, this is where they want to buy this asset at. But when the price of something moves up with a particular momentum, sometimes it gets people to buy at a higher price than what the market value would be because they have this FOMO. They've missed out and they want to get in on it. They go, well, it went up so far, it might still go again, and people have this sort of linear mentality when they see momentum. Human beings just want to rush into something, and so they rush into something. It causes the price to continue to move, and then once what's called a marginal buyer, the pool of people that could be hyped are done, then the price doesn't just stay there because the reason why the hype people bought it was that the price was going up. So once the price doesn't go up anymore, for them, their value, the value they want, which is the price moving, is not there anymore. And so they're compelled to sell. And then as the first people start to sell and the price starts moving down the other way, the same people who are motivated by a movement up are motivated by the movement down. And so you get those washout in an asset class. But the people who've been holding it for the last 5 years, to them, it's not a big deal because if you're holding this from $2,000, what does it matter to you? Also, people
Well, it
who
doesn't matter to you because there's true, you perceive a true value in Bitcoin. It's not just about hype. And that's the dichotomy that I want to touch on, that Bitcoin is, I'm separating Bitcoin from all the other coins. People like to lump in crypto together, everything else. They have their value, but I see Bitcoin as entirely separate. I see that more as electricity, and there's an intrinsic value to Bitcoin, a problem that it solves, right? Being able to move assets, being able to store value, et cetera, et cetera. I don't see it as like a coin, and so there are people who believe in it and see it as that thing. and they're not going to be shaken by the price dropping, because what difference does it make if the price of gas goes up or down? The value of gas is still the same. What difference does it make if the cost of internet or electricity goes up or down? The price doesn't reflect its actual value. What's being washed out now are the lettuce hands, are the people who didn't understand Bitcoin, who inflated the price, the value of it in their minds, and then didn't get that value from it. And then it's going to fall back. I believe it's not going to fall to zero, because it'll fall back to the level of the reasonable level of
Well,
true value.
the counterpoint to that is that people are saying, well, what if the reasonable level for this is at $2,000, at $1,000, at $10, right?
Yeah.
So the question here is, you bring up a great point of what the actual value is. So if you're someone who bought into Bitcoin because of the price movement, then to you the value of Bitcoin is exists insofar as the price continues to move up, and which is perfectly fine. That's called speculation. People buy things on speculation all the time. If that's the case, if the price starts to fall, then you need to know at what price you need to sell this. At what price it's too painful for you, or you're at a loss and you want to get out of it. Perfectly fine to do that. So for me, there's a part of my portfolio that's speculative, and so once it fell to a certain price, I was done and I sold off that portion. But then there's an other part for the crypto space where you're buying Bitcoin or whatever cryptos you're in, and you're buying it for, you're not trying to measure how many dollars I can exchange for this Bitcoin. You want to participate in an ecosystem in which they use Bitcoin, right? So if you're in a system, if you're more and more becoming part of a system in which you're actually using this Bitcoin, right, either as a store of value or as a medium of exchange, well, then you're measuring your wealth in the number of Bitcoins you have, in the same way that other people are measuring their wealth in the number of dollars they have. In which case, you don't care if Bitcoin fluctuates up and down versus another currency. It's sort of like if you live in there's people who live in Canada who don't care at all what the price of a Canadian dollar is in US dollars. It doesn't make any difference to them because they're not interacting with the United States directly. They just care about how many Canadian dollars they have. Now, the Canadian dollar fluctuates all the time versus the US dollar. Sometimes it's down 20%, like it's down 20% versus the US dollar. Other times it's up 30% US dollar, right? But if you're a Canadian, you're not interacting with the US, you don't care. You're measuring your wealth in Canadian dollars. Similarly, there are people inside of a Bitcoin ecosystem where that's one of the currencies that they're using to trade in order to buy things or store their value. So it doesn't really matter to them. So you need to know which camp you're in, right? If you're in the camp of you're using Bitcoin as a unit of account for yourself, then this is great. But you want to buy more Bitcoin now, right? You're like, great.
That's what I want to bring up just before I do. We got a hello fellas from that one person, LOL. I don't know who that is, but thank you from Twitch. Thank you for watching. Yeah, that's the thing. If you believe, like I do, first of all, we're not providing financial advice. We're not financial advisors. At your own peril, enter at your own risk. Your mileage may vary. You win some, you lose some, like whatever you got to say. Okay. I talk to people about Bitcoin, not in the price appreciation, but in the value that Bitcoin provides. Like that to me is what's the most exciting thing about Bitcoin and the blockchain. It's like when the internet first came out and everybody started using it more, and you had this technology. A lot of the websites were like boring, garbage. They weren't. There wasn't anything special, but the potential of what it could do wasn't erased because of the garbage that people were putting on it. To me, the only question is how long it will take for Bitcoin's value to be properly understood and revealed. And I do think that there's a fundamental problem that Bitcoin is solving that is not going to go away despite what's going on. Plus, I believe it's a hedge or some type of safety for what's going on in the world at large when it comes to fiat currency, when it comes to the US dollar. I'm not sure how much that thing is based on trust, and I'm not sure how much trust is still there. They start printing out all this money. I don't know what's going on. The situations in Europe, like the rest of the world ain't stable. That's the other thing. Like the rest of the world ain't stable. I was hearing all the talk. People were waiting for the Fed chair to come out and talk on Wednesday, Jerome Powell. They're like on pins and needles about what they're going to do with inflation, blah, blah, blah. Like people are very nervous and concerned about what's going on. So to think that, oh, well, forget Bitcoin, I'm going to go into something else. It's like, I'm
So
not
that's
so
one of the
sure
things
about
we
that.
talked about on the Telegram group, which is people go, well, I don't want to go into Bitcoin, or I don't want to take some risk because I want to be safe. Sort of like people go, I don't want to. I rather work at a job that I hate versus try to find something else or start something on my own because I don't like the uncertainty of not having a paycheck. And they don't realize that there's uncertainty in what they're doing anyway. They're assuming they're going to have this job for a while, for the next 20 years, 30 years, but that's not the case. And in fact, every day that you spend on this without doing a side hustle, without gaining your skills, without knowing what your actual value is, you're at more risk than you were if you're off trying to do something on your own. Because at least the person who's off trying to do something on their own can't be blind to it. They got to find money in order to pay their bills and eat. Right? They
That's right.
know exactly what type of productivity they're having, what kind of value they're bringing. So you got to know what you're actually risking. So people go, I'm going to go into U.S. dollars or whatever dollars you're in, going, nah, now I'm safe. Well, you probably know just as much of what's going on with the central bank inside your country and what they're doing with the money as you do about what's going on with Bitcoin miners in China. Like, if you don't know one or the other, like you're in the screw boat, right? And
Yeah.
so it's useful to have if you're not going to you don't have a particular interest to study uh, the financial markets, well, then you need to hedge your bets. You got to diversify a bit, and that's why having no alternative, like having no insurance plan at all whatsoever, that's the riskiest thing of all. I just want to add this thing though, that I should actually uh, give this caveat here, that Bitcoin is actually my smallest holding. Um, as far as once I found myself in the space, I was far more excited by the value propositions of other cryptocurrencies than I am with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin for me solved this very particular. They were the first to market, and to me, Bitcoin, I see it like yeah, Internet Explorer. So when browsers first started, you had Internet Explorer, you had Netscape, right? And a lot of people bet on Netscape, and some people bet on Internet Explorer. And okay, Internet Explorer is what we still have, and Netscape fell to the wayside. And then there's Firefox and Opera and Chrome browser. There's all kinds of different browsers that came afterwards. And I didn't stay with Internet Explorer. I moved to different browsers as they solved the problems I needed. Right? Instead of navigating just browsing the web, I started programming, and so I needed a browser that helped me program better, and so I was with Firefox. And then it turned out I wanted a browser to help me program better, and that was faster, and so I ended up with Google Chrome. Then it turns out I'm not programming as much, so now I want a browser that helps me in the crypto space. So now I'm with Brave. I like moving from technology to technology to depending on what that solves for me. And so Bitcoin for me is not it's only exciting under certain periods of time. Let me put it in a different way. There's a whole crypto space. So Bitcoin sparked off this whole thing where there's tons of other people in the space who are using the same principles of Bitcoin and creating their own things. Well, those things are just as valuable, I find, or potentially just as valuable. And so but because they're trying to be different than Bitcoin, they solve different things. So some people, it's like this coin transacts faster than another, or this cryptocurrency is, instead of being a unit of electricity and productivity in the way Bitcoin is, it represents a number of BitTorrent files you've shared, or music songs you've created, or you showed me Helium network the other day, which is you could set up your Wi-Fi as a sort of like a public Wi-Fi, and you get to instead of generating Bitcoin, you're generating this Helium token, and this token represents that you're providing freer Wi-Fi. You're providing Wi-Fi space to people who don't have it, um, which it's to me is fantastic. There's all these other cryptocurrencies that use the same idea of Bitcoin but try different things, and so I find it's useful to. I was saying before for Bitcoin, I like being if you're part of the community, if you're using Bitcoin as part of your daily life, then you're not really thinking about the price of Bitcoin. And so I find that it's good to have a basket of these currencies, several of these cryptocurrencies that solve different problems in your study of your life, and then the price becomes less of less of a concern. And in our Telegram group and in other live streams, I love to spend more time talking about some of these other cryptocurrencies that also have the speculation aspect that can go up in price, but also might be very useful to you. You might be like, oh my god, I didn't realize this community even existed.
I like what you're saying. I agree. I disagree fundamentally. So maybe we'll have some arguments. To me, Bitcoin is miles apart. I don't see it as. To me, Bitcoin is pure. It's gold, and coins is what we make with it. And those things can go. They can be corrupted by the human influence. There's all kinds of stuff. The very differentiating aspects of it are the weaknesses of those coins to me, whereas Bitcoin can be anything, can be whatever.
Okay.
I care more about a store of asset than I do about a currency. I don't believe that Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency. I think it's a digital asset, it's digital gold, and everything else is gambling. And it's good. You can speculate, you can invest in the stock market, you can bet on Apple, whatever. That's not bad ideas, but to me, they're totally separate things. And lumping them in a Bitcoin is just the earlier version of these other things. I think is totally wrong.
Okay, so that's perfectly fine by me. So then you can consider it in this way. This is a different way of thinking about it, and a way that really opened my eyes, and why I even started looking into other cryptocurrencies when I was just as far as speculation is concerned. So you go, okay, Bitcoin spawned this whole space, this whole crypto space, and so what happens is that when when the price of Bitcoin is moving up, a lot of these side characters, side altcoins, move up more drastically than Bitcoin does because there's more speculation in that space than in Bitcoin. Right? Bitcoin has been around for 12 years. As far as speculation is concerned, there's more in other, you can say that there's more in other spaces, these new cryptocurrencies where people are trying to jump on something new than there are in Bitcoin. So it's almost like when Bitcoin goes up, if you were to invest in those other projects, you can actually get higher returns faster. And when Bitcoin starts going down and drag the other ones, you can sell those other ones at a profit, and then start buying Bitcoin on the way down. So you use the rise of Bitcoin as a cue for, okay, things are stable here. Let me keep a core in Bitcoin, speculating these other things in order to generate cash flow. And then when Bitcoin drops, you go, great, Black Friday sale. Let me sell the things that I've made a bundle of money on in order to buy more. So you actually end up generating more Bitcoin for yourself over time, this cryptocurrency that you find so fascinating, this asset that you don't want to part with. You actually gain more Bitcoin that way.
Yeah, no, I totally like. I'm all for that type of behavior. It's very exciting. It's very good. If you have a mind for it, if you have an interest in it, follow Tom if you want to get some perspective on what he's doing. It might be something that you want to do. Keep your eyeballs on this. When it comes to price appreciation, when it comes to getting more, all that's I'm all for. I just don't want to conflate to make it seem that Bitcoin or Cardano or Ethereum, it's all the same thing. It's just which one was here first. To
No,
me, they're
no,
very
it's not that they're
distinct.
all the same thing. It's like, think of it
I
like,
just mean that they're not. They're not. Bitcoin is a class in and of itself.
well, why do you think that? What about Bitcoin makes you think that it's in a class on its own?
Various things. One, it's time. So it's been around the longest, which in the material world, at the very least, makes something more valuable. Like it matters. So I think it applies in the digital world. It's more tested. There isn't a leader who's in charge of it. Ethereum right now, they're creating Ethereum 2.0. They're changing the plane. I heard it described on Lex Friedman's podcast, I think, changing the plane in midair, in mid-flight.
Yeah, changing the engine.
I love Cardano. I hate hearing the politics or the between Vitalik and what is its name?
Vitalik and Charles Hoskinson.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like any of that nonsense. I don't like the personalities behind it. I don't wake up in the morning and go, what is the Bitcoin CEO doing? I think that if there's a human, the more human people are in there, the weaker it is and the more flawed it can be. It can be totally gone. Bitcoin, from what I understand, that can't happen. So it's like if I went out to the woods and I dug up and there was gold and I took it, I'd have something valuable. Like to me, that's what Bitcoin is. It's like Bitcoin is just this pure thing that's not it's not tied to any personality. It's not tied to any structure. And the fact that I don't think that you're going to have the institutional money that's going to decide, oh, let me put $100 million into Cardano. I think it's less likely that the institutional money and that the long time money is going to go into something that is, the fact that these coins you can have a greater yield is because of the greater uncertainties, because of the greater volatility. Whereas Bitcoin is volatile, but it's not as volatile as other things, so it's not as safe for institutional money, which is what's required in order for this to really take off in the way that we want it to. So for that and other reasons, Bitcoin to me is purer and is a class on its own.
So let me tell you this one time. So you have the idea. So you're dealing with the tech space. So in the tech space, almost never is the first thing the best thing, right? So the new iterations learn from the mistakes of a first thing, and there's all kinds of shortcomings with Bitcoin that prevent it from fulfilling the thing that that the Bitcoin people wanted to begin with. I'm not saying that means you shouldn't own any Bitcoin. I'm saying that you want to see other people's solutions to it. So the iPhone is better than the Razor, is better than the Nokia flip, better than the Blackberries, right? But BlackBerry was dominant. BlackBerry was like the thing that everybody had, but we don't use those anymore. And there's a reason. Just because it was first doesn't mean it'll be the best. Now, this idea that of
I think your analogy is wrong there. I don't know if you're continuing with it, but I think you're dead wrong with what you just said.
all right, go for it.
To me, Bitcoin isn't the smartphone. Bitcoin to me is cellular technology. And the iterations of it, those are the coins. Bitcoin to me is electricity. It's
No,
not
no, no.
an
That's
application of electricity.
you're confusing Bitcoin with blockchain.
Yes, I'm conflating the two. Yeah.
Yes, blockchain is a technology that converts power, energy, math, or whatever into a digital thing, and that could be used for a number of different things. But Bitcoin is the program running on that system.
But it can't be altered, this program.
No,
That's
a
the thing.
blockchain can be altered, but you can create a blockchain in many different ways. But
You can't
the
change Bitcoin. You can't
no,
change it.
you
It's
can
immutable.
you can change it,
It
but
would
if
take
you
an
change
act
it,
of God.
no, you would have to have everybody agree that you can change it, which is not
Yes.
likely to happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's all kinds of different
But not
variations of
Cardano,
Bitcoin.
not Ethereum, not Doge.
No,
Those can
no,
change at a whim.
no. That those change in the same way Bitcoin changes. The problem with the Bitcoin changes because there's no person at the top. You can't dictate a change. That's what they mean by it. But it can technically be changed. It's just code.
Well, you could technically change gold if the alchemists figure out how to do it, but
No,
I mean,
no, you can't. That's why Bitcoin is not like digital gold. Bitcoin is a digital asset. It's
yeah.
not like digital gold. So you the technology on top of blockchain, the parameters, the culture, not the culture, but the rules set on top of it are arbitrary rules set by Satoshi, the creator of Bitcoin. That there
Mhm.
will only be 21 million. That there's going to be a reduced number of bitcoins created when they're mined. The speed at which they could be transacted at. All those are arbitrary rules, which are fine,
Mhm.
but you can't
Mhm.
say that those rules are the best rules.
Well, the best rules. Well, they're not the best rules. What makes them the best rules is that they can be changed. It's
Okay,
the mutable
so
aspect of it that's important. It's like something that you can rely on and trust. I'm not saying that the ground under you can't shift and your earth can't swallow you whole, but the ground is foundational. And anything built upon the ground is a smarter thing to do than I've got this new version of earth.
I bought a printer recently, and you know what all the printer maximalists say when you go to buy a printer? That printers are a scam. They're just there to sell you ink, right? I mean, the price per ink, price per ounce of ink is actually I think 10 times the price of gold, an ounce of gold for right? Like it's crazy. They just scam to give you this thing that breaks down all the time and that you have to repair and that you get ink. You buy ink all the time. So the printer maximalists say if you're going to buy a printer, buy one from 20 years ago. That one will last you forever. And they're right.
Built for life.
They're absolutely right. But I'm not going to do that because I want mine to connect to Ethernet, and I want mine to have a nice display, and I want mine to give me a photo options, and I want a nice tray that pulls out in the way. I want it to talk to me. I don't want the OG printer. I'm not interested. I don't care if it's a tenth of the price, right? Similarly, I don't care about having a landline. Get a satellite phone. You won't be able to be hacked. You can use your phone from anywhere. Yeah, but I don't want to walk. I don't want a satellite phone. I want the app store, right? And I want killer apps. So I'm fine with having my iPhone. So I'm not saying what I'm saying is that Bitcoin is great for what it does, but it opened up a door to a world of possibility of more than just black text on a white background for the internet. It opened up a whole new thing. And there's things that are around that people, when you engage with it, you're like, holy crap, I didn't even know this was here. I didn't even know this could happen. The funding of different projects, the unlocking of creativity, the new jobs that people can have, and the solutions that people can find. Bitcoin is not doing that. Now, for the second thing you were saying, that there's no top-down person for Bitcoin, I understand. But the culture around Bitcoin is one of the most toxic cultures I have ever seen in my entire life.
Well, compared to what? Compared to politics? Compared to anything
Even
that's
compared to
online
politics.
like that? The culture in real world, or the culture in social media?
Both.
Because Twitter is not the real world.
They're like the vegans of money. Like they're just this purists that are just, it's just so they want to throw blood on your Ethereum jacket. Because oh no, Ethereum is
not
murder.
the Raul
Oh my
Pauls, not
god,
the Raul Pauls.
Peter, there's a small cohort of libertarian-minded Bitcoin maximalists that
Come on,
don't say
Tom. What you're
anything.
doing is you're going. You're back in the 1800s. It's the gold rush that's happening in the West. They're going out to get the gold, and all these gang criminals shoot 'em up, steal your gold. People, they're making this whole gold scene very ugly. Come on, Tom. That doesn't mean
No,
that what they're going after isn't one
no.
of the best things on this planet.
No, 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 no. That's Wild West, and that's happening everywhere online, right?
No, what we're
But
having is the crypto Wild West. That's what's happening
no,
with
I'm talking
Bitcoin.
about the difference between in your Wild West analogy, there are towns that are well made, and other towns where 1 out of 3 people are going to die, are going to get shot, right?
Mhm.
Because they don't have a proper security system, and they don't have the right culture, and they're not placed in the right spot. Like in your Wild West analogy, the Bitcoin stuff are the frontier towns, or the towns that you go that what's the I'm trying to belabor this analogy, but they're like, you don't want to go necessarily into that neighborhood. Sure, it's been there since the beginning, but that's like, oof, that's the red light district of the crypto space. Or no, sorry,
Okay,
no,
wait.
it's the Vatican City. It's the Vatican City. There we go. It's the Vatican City of the Wild West. They're too much. They're too
Okay,
much.
just
Peter, they
before
got
we
laser eyes on their avatars. They got laser eyes. Bitcoin's down 50%. They're still out there going, Bitcoin or nothing. Goodness gracious.
that type of energy is what we need, okay? Because after thousands of years, we still have Christianity, all right? So I know that you're poo-pooing, but all these other religions that pop up here and there, they're gonna come and go, okay? Lord praise Zoltan, all right? But Jesus Christ, the Lord and Savior, is here. In 5,000 years, we're still going to be quoting Jesus Christ, okay,
Well,
buddy?
I'm going to
And that's
give
what
L. Ron
Bitcoin is.
Hubbard a chance, okay? I'm going to give he might have something with Diane X. Who knows? Let's give
All
him
right,
a shot.
before we move on, I gotta ask you, okay? Is Bitcoin going back up? Is Bitcoin going back up?
That's the wrong question to ask. I mean, yes, but that's the wrong question to ask. Because if it goes back up, what if I say it goes back up? It'll go back up in the next 5 years. Are you going to sell? You got to know at what price you're at what price you're willing to buy, at what price you're willing to sell. If you know that, then it doesn't matter if it'll go back or up or not. When it
All I
reaches
care
that price,
about is if it's going to go to zero or if it's just going to continue going up over time. That's all I care about.
if that's what you care about, then you should
Are we
sell.
in a collapse of Bitcoin where it's like, oh, it's going down,
No,
whatever, and there's no point in having it?
no, but it
Why
doesn't
do you
mean
say
that
that?
we can't get there because we've only taken out so far the hype cycle. in an asset bubble phase. If the price
Right.
keeps going down from here, like if it goes lower than 20,000, then I'd be like, okay, let's have a conversation. But I remember when Bitcoin was at 4,000 and people said it was too expensive.
Hmm.
So we're
Hmm.
not in that space yet. And given the fact that we're pricing, well, that goes into a whole other category. But I'd be very, I wouldn't bet on it being down and out. I would find that very surprising. Look, you have to understand that in tech, when you're dealing with network effects, when you're dealing with logarithmic, like exponential price movements, you can have something drop 90% and still be worthwhile. I mean, Amazon stock that today is
That's right.
trading at $3,000 per share used to trade at $3. Like it dropped from $30 to $3, and in the dot-com crisis, and it couldn't have been a better buy. In our lifetime, it went up $3,000. Like
Yeah.
that's insane. So you got to know what you're buying. Now, if you need this money to live,
Hmm.
then you got to know when you need to
Of
sell it. It
course.
doesn't matter if
Of
it'll go
course.
back up. If it goes down, you got
Yeah.
to sell it. But if
Yeah.
you
Yeah. Of
don't,
course.
and you're not willing to get into the nitty gritty and into the weeds of it, then selling it is like selling a perpetual lottery ticket. And it's like, why do that?
Or if you sell it, be prepared to buy back in when it reaches some form of
Yeah, but that's
bottom
what I'm
or
saying. If
something.
you're willing to manage it like that way, yeah. If you know, okay, I'll sell it off over here and I'll buy it back at that price. Oh, it went down, I'm gonna sell it over here, and you're trading it. Okay, then you need to do your homework. But if you're not gonna do that, you want to set it and forget it, then buy it and don't think about it again.
Before we get to your charts, there's a couple of things I want to say. One, I don't really understand why people like to talk about Bitcoin in a vacuum or just in the crypto space. Like, do you see what's happening to the world around you? Like, I just don't get it. The world is financial world is seems to be so unstable. I feel like at any moment a match could be lit and the whole thing collapses. I mean,
Exactly right.
you're paying attention to Europe. You're paying attention to what's happening in China. You're paying attention to what's happening in the United States. You're like, you see prices of commodities going up. You see inflation higher than it's ever been. You know, like people are teetering on the edge. It seems like the only thing that's holding things together is people's trust in central government and central banks. Like I don't understand how people can look at Bitcoin and be like, oh, whatever, and then but the rest of the world gives me comfort. Like I just don't understand. Like Apple, as great as they can be gone tomorrow.
That's exactly right.
Like they can be gone tomorrow. Tesla can be gone tomorrow. Amazon
Well,
can be gone
forget
tomorrow.
about those companies. Your job can.
And,
Your specific
yeah,
living
yeah.
arrangement. You like someone's there's like I spent the last 7 years. I learned how to become a lawyer, and it's like, oh well, the software came out and now it replaced my job. Like
And
that.
that's coming.
That's if everything goes well, the
Yeah,
job can just get replaced.
and that's 100% guaranteed.
Yes.
An incredible number of jobs are going to be replaced, right? Andrew Yang talked about this in his presidential run. He talked about retail workers, truck drivers. I forget the other industry, but there's whole industries that are like right now on the precipice of being replaced wholesale with technology, with AI, with algorithms and different
Anything that
things.
can be automated will be automated.
It
Anything
will
that
be
can
like
be AI
it's a
enhanced will
guarantee.
be enhanced.
And you think, oh, my job can be automated. You know, I'm a lawyer. I'm an accountant. No. You definitely can be automated. You'll be
If you're
surprised at the
not in a
things.
creative field, your job is on the chopping block. It's coming up. It's coming up. Now,
Yeah,
it might be a year, it might be 10 years. We don't know. But that's the whole point. You don't know, right? You're in a
that's right.
volatility situation right now.
That's right.
You don't know
Let
what
me
the
let me
standard
say
distribution of
one more
currencies are.
thing that I don't understand is that this whole thing with China. Like I hear, oh, China banning cryptocurrency. Well, one, they're creating a digital currency, just like the United States, just like other places. So that means the crypto space has become so apparently useful that countries are going, well, we're going to have to at least create our own version of it. Like the US government isn't creating their own version of Facebook, but they're damn sure creating their own digital currency. They're going to have to. They're like, well, of course we have to do this. You know, being able to transfer things, being able to fine tune the financial markets so that we can tax this person specifically or these, like all the things that they're going to be able to do. Like, of course they're going to do it. So it's revealing to me like it's not a threat that these countries are deciding to create their own digital currency. It's a huge uh, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? I just
It's
had
an
it.
ad for the digital currency space.
Yeah, they're advocating for it. It's like totally legitimizing the concept at the very least, if not a specific coin. So don't be intimidated by the fact that these companies, like, just think of it like, oh, the United States government wants to make an iPhone. You're like, it won't be as good as the thing that it's created by independent people. Like, there's no way it can be as good. Government is terribly inefficient.
Well,
So,
I'll tell you this, Peter.
but
Like,
just before the point I want to make, just real quick, is that then China bans crypto, and you're like, then it must be amazing. What are you talking about? Why would they even bother banning it if they could create something that'd be way better than Bitcoin? They're banning it because they don't want people to go use that amazing thing that everybody wants to use. They have to literally go out and ban it, not incentivize people not to use it, not to come out with statements and like, oh, that's no good, not trying to fearmonger, outright ban it. That means that no matter what they say, no matter what they do, people will use that thing, so they have to ban it. So what the hell? I don't care if it's going down now. It will go up because the world has changed. We're not going back to a world where we don't use internet. We're not going back to a world where we don't use electricity. We're not going back to a world where we don't use fire. That's what this crypto thing has revealed. So I want people to still be excited about cryptocurrency, about Bitcoin specifically. That's what I care about, but about the whole space, because it is changing the way we do things. If you take the digital dollar, you will be far better off with that digital dollar than you are with your paper money. And that's just from A to B. If you go to crypto, the possibilities, you look at Cardano, you look at smart contracts, you look at the ecosystem, you look at peer-to-peer network and Internet of Things. It's like unbelievable. Like, what are people worried about?
mhm.
I don't get it.
I should tell you, like, recently, so a bunch of commodities have been going up. Corn, lumber, copper. A bunch of these commodities are going up drastically in price. And we got a comment. Great info. Thanks, guys. Well, I'm glad you like it, Sam. Um, and so you have that's a representative of inflation. Oil going up. Oil's hitting 75 multi-year highs. You All these commodities are going through the roof. And so copper tanked the other day. It just tanked hard.
Really?
Yeah, and people are like, "What's going on?" And then China came out and said they're they started selling a bunch of their copper because they were saying the price of copper was going up too high and it's generating this inflation. And so they started dumping copper on the market, selling their reserves of copper. They had like 3 months of reserves of copper. They just started selling a bunch of copper in order to bring the price down, because the price of anything is what is the next price you can get it at, right? And so that caused the price of copper to fall. But that could not be more bullish for copper,
Yeah,
because it
absolutely.
means that, one, as soon as they're done selling the copper that they have, now they got to buy it back. They're trying to drive the price down to convince other people to sell it as well, so they could buy it back lower and to bring inflation down. But they're so worried that it's going to go up so high that they're trying their best to bring it down. Well, that just means buy copper. Buy copper. We're not going to stop using the copper. The copper is going to be just as needed as it was 3 months ago as it is now, if not more, because copper is a main component in technology and electric cars and the new green infrastructures. Blah blah blah. Copper is super needed, so it's like, buy more copper. They just gave you a buying opportunity. This is China
Mhm.
again. So China bans Bitcoin and prevents people from mining it, and that just tells you, okay, in this shuffle, the price came down, and the one of the possible outcomes is that not only does it Bitcoin come back up to the price that it was at before they started doing that, that it skyrockets from there.
That's what I
That's
think.
that's a thing that could happen.
That's what I
So
think
yeah,
too.
it could break down to nothing, but also basically the standard deviation of outcomes has widened. I was just going over my charts. I'm not gonna have time to go through all the charts today. We'll do it on another session, maybe later on this week. But
Mhm.
usually, in charts, you look for, so you imagine this bar chart, or not a bar chart, a line graph. What you're looking for is a trend, right? So the price can either go up, it can go down, it can go sideways. When price is going up, what it does is that it always goes up in this sine wave, in this up and down curve. And what you're looking for is for the prices to get higher and higher and higher. So it goes up high, it comes out low. It goes up higher, it comes down low, but not as low as it was before. And it's called making higher highs and higher lows. And that is bullish. That means the price momentum is moving upwards. And the opposite of true is true too. If you get lower highs and lower lows, it means the price is heading lower. Well, Bitcoin right now, the futures of Bitcoin are giving me higher highs and lower lows. That means it's going like this, right? Which means that the possible outcomes for the price is now like anybody's guess. We don't even know.
Which
It's not even going sideways. It's not going. Is where it going anywhere now?
which means
Which
the
is just,
potential
yeah,
is through the roof. That's
through
what
the
it
roof.
means. The potential is unbounded,
Like, exactly.
right?
If
That's
it
what it
was
means.
just it's all going downhill, then we would have lower highs and lower lows that says, okay, we're heading in that direction. Now I couldn't tell you what direction it's headed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Now
It's
there's
like
a
you put
number
your
of other
whole
details. There's a number of other details to consider with that too. Like we look at price, we look at volume, we look at volatility, we look at GDP for different countries. Productivity. We look at there's a bunch of different details to look at. There's many factors, but price, volume, and volatility will give you a lot of information at what direction an asset is going in. And right now, Bitcoin has crazy volatility. Well, Bitcoin's volatility right now is actually not as crazy as it was when I was at $60,000 per Bitcoin. It's actually like half or a little bit less than half. It's just like trying to figure out what to do. Like I said, the price is giving you a higher highs and lower lows, and the volume. Usually, you want the volume, the number of trades that are happening, to whenever it's a lot. It tells you, oh, more people believe that this price movement should happen. So if you have a lot of volume as the price is going down, and you go, well, then more likely the price is to keep going down because everyone's confirming that's the case. If you have a little bit of volume as the price is going down, then you go, it's not really conviction. There's not a lot of sellers. It's just slowly going down. And the same is true for the opposite. But now we're getting high volume both down and up. So it's like
I
everywhere.
love it.
It's like, is today a good day to buy Bitcoin? No, maybe, yeah. It's not a bad day. It could be, could not, could be, it could be not. And so when you see an uncertainty like that, that's a time to be excited. That's a time to be like,
Definitely.
you don't get that level of volatility and uncertainty in something that's definitely not worth anything. You don't.
That's right.
That's not what happens.
And just to reiterate the point that you've brought up in the past, again, we're talking about money that you are willing to bet, that you're willing to lose. We're not talking about
Yeah.
money that you need, right? Money that you want to bet. Given that context, given the context of money, the question you want to ask yourself, Tom asked this question of you, where else would you be putting that money? If you're putting it into something else that also has potential, that also is doing something, your money's working for you, fine. If your plan is to just spend this on whatever, drinking, then what is your beef with the market? What is your beef with the price fluctuation? What is the problem? What is your goddamn problem right now if you don't have anywhere else better to put your money? All right.
Peter,
Oh, should I put it?
I saw a financial analyst say today online, if you put $20,000 in the stock market, you'll get on average 10% return per year, and in 15 years you'll have $30,000. Or if you put it in the real estate market as a down payment for a house, and you rent out that house for $1,500 a month over the next period of time, accounted for cost, you'll make $6,300 per month, and over the same 15-year period, instead of $30,000 on the stock market, you'll make $115,000. Now, where would you want to put your money? And I go, neither. Because on one, you're assuming that the stock market never crashes, and you have an average 10% return, and you don't need that money right away, or that the dollar is stable and all that sort of thing. And the other one, you're assuming that the rental market, the price will go up in appreciation and value, that there's not going to be any fire or water damage you have to pay, and then you're going to have to deal with renters that'll pay you reliably without being a headache. I was like, what are you talking about? You're acting like this is simple. None of that. All of this is risky.
That's
So
it.
you just have to decide what bucket of risk do you want to be dealing with. And as far as the amount of effort that it takes in order to get into the crypto space with a potential return, the risk reward there is high. In fact, the more you pay attention to it, the more money you can make out of it. It's like that's an amazing thing. It rewards you for your attention. It rewards you for your knowledge. And if you don't have any knowledge at all, holding it so far, on average, no one if you've held it and you've not sold it, you've made money over time. There's not a person who's had Bitcoin, even if you bought it at the peak of 2017 and the crash, you're still up today.
That's right.
So what's the concern? What are the other options you're weighing here?
I'm going to rename the title of this episode to Bitcoin. What's your effort problem? Okay, what is your problem? You got something else to do? You got a better place to be? You got a better place to go? Okay, go do that thing. Otherwise, you could just shut your mouth, keep it in Bitcoin. Worst case scenario, you sell it out of Bitcoin, you buy it back when it's at the bottom. Okay, that's about it. All right,
My
there
favorite
ain't
part is that
nowhere else to go.
I wonder if Bitcoin's tanking right now, and we're just talking as it's knifing down to zero.
I'm
Some
watching
news
it.
item
I'm
comes
watching it. I'm
out.
watching it. It's at 32. I say, okay, let's put our butts on the line here. Okay, you say we don't know. We can guess. Speculation, right? You say there's nothing wrong with speculation. Speculation. By the end of the year, what do you think Bitcoin's going to be at? Go.
Oh,
I can go first if you want.
I think it'll be above 100,000.
Above 100,000. I think it'll be at least 100,000. We're looking. I think 220 is what we're going to be at. But I'm stealing that from Max Kaiser.
Sure. Well, what's happening right now? One of the things for Bitcoin, we're gonna have to wrap up. But one of the things of Bitcoin, because people like to talk about crypto space like it's manipulated, but it's manipulated by a bunch of free agents, right? And so what happens? It's not centrally planned. And so what happens is that you often get the crypto market often tells you what's about to happen inside the other financial markets, in the housing market, inside of the stock market, whatever. And if this is any indication, I would imagine that the next quarter will see significant deflation, which is to say price droppings and stock market crash. I wouldn't be surprised to see over the next couple of weeks, the stock market crashed 50%. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Actually, if the stock market crashed 10%, it's a nightmare. But that bodes well. It means that Bitcoin would front run it, and that when it comes out of it, it should come out of it even faster than before. Then it went down. So it's almost bullish. So to me, it's really the price. The price has to drop below 20,000 and stay there for me to be like structurally bearish on the asset.
Just last question here for you. We call this Bitcoin Armageddon. Let's say the worst thing happens and this COVID Delta variant is more serious than we think, and we go back into lockdown type scenarios that we did before. Good for Bitcoin, bad for Bitcoin? Go.
Any uncertainty will be good for Bitcoin. The more uncertainty there is, the more people will chase whatever yields they can get. And people like you and I, well, we don't have trust funds and pension funds and whatever it is that we could rely on and sit back on our laurels. People, their money will chase. I mean, it's not for nothing that Dogecoin went from 0.01 cent per Dogecoin to 30 cents. It's like people will chase where they can find any type of returns. And hell, if Wall Street Bets has taught us anything, is that never underestimate what's the phrase?
A dedicated
A dedicated minority. It's the only thing that's ever changed the world. Which is, I think, Mary Lou Angelo or whatever. But I'm going to give it to the Wall Street Bet folks.
The next time you folks are up at night, maybe woken up by a cold sweat, looking at the price of Bitcoin, wondering what the hell is going on.
Message me.
You want to remember to head over to Jumpstart on Telegram. Become a patron for $5 a USD a month for whatever USDs are worth.
And peel off some of that Bitcoin that's fallen like a knife and get access to someone who
that's right.
will lull you to sleep.
You become a patron, you get the link right in your email. You'll join the Telegram group, and you'll have access to us. We're there all the time. We're going to be doing more voice chats, more and more voice chats. Like you're gonna really have us in your back pocket a lot. So definitely go over there and do that. And if you're poor, because you don't have Bitcoin or something, then head over to Twitter. Tom's at Sacred Prophet on Twitter. I'm Bad Guru on Twitter, and we can answer your poor man questions. Very happy that you watched the show. Thank you so much for being here. Leave a comment, like, subscribe. Head over to youtube.com/happyforachange and become a subscriber if you haven't done so yet.
And I'll say that you'll see us again if Bitcoin drops another 10, 15, 20%. We'll do another video on Friday, I guess. And I'll talk you up from there.
My name is Peter Hartman.
I'm Tom Hartman.
And you're watching Jumpstart
Live.
Take care, everybody.
We did it.
We did it, but the delay, the lag is not. It's not working.
All right, Peter.
Bye, folks.